Hey guys, Eva here. I wanted to make another video, kind of an addendum to the last one I made about fake witches. But this time I kind of want to echo a little bit of what Violet said in her video about it. She discussed more along the lines of the stigma surrounding people who can claim that they can speak with the dead. And usually people like that are called crazy, or maybe they're called charlatans or fake or whatever. And I think she touched on something really important there. For myself, I consider myself to be a sin eater, which is an old-timey term of somebody who was kind of like an outcast of society. They usually lived on the edge of town, and when somebody died, they would hire a sin eater to come along and symbolically consume the filth or the sin of the person who had deceased, so that their spirit could be at rest and go on to wherever they were supposed to go. And usually for this they were paid food and a small amount of money, and their soul was considered to be at forfeit for this practice, and therefore they were shunned. They were viewed by society or by their small towns or whatever to be unclean or kind of creepy, spooky, as you can imagine. So yeah, I don't get asked to do that, but what I do find myself fulfilling a lot of times is the practice of empathy. And that's really what I feel sin eating or speaking with the dead or any of these creepy, spooky, marvelous things is really all about, is the practice of empathy, which is intellectually identifying with somebody else's reality or something else's reality. And this is really the work of a shaman, or perhaps a witch doctor, or maybe perhaps a priest, or these people that we assume have spiritual gifts. It's the ability to create a space of identifying with somebody else's reality so that we might then share our perspective, our reality, and commune with the spirits. Ooh, you know? So that's how I take it. And anytime you're practicing a spiritual path or your own personal paradigm or thought exercises, it doesn't necessarily have to be spiritual by any means, but if you're on a path for any length of time, you will find that you're going to reach a place where you are by yourself. You have sailed off the map. There are monsters in the water, and everybody else has been like, holy shit, abandoned ship. You're alone, and you're not likely to receive validation from anybody at that point. And even if you could, it's likely to not serve what it is you're really looking for. The validation at that point comes from self, from deep, deep self-analysis and trust and faith that you are on the right course. You're gonna sail out of this weird space and into some like sunny seas or doldrums. You're gonna get out of the doldrums. But yeah, so the other thing is that I wanna be sure to phrase this correctly. You can pay money, you can pay good money to have access to things like anointings or initiations or circumstances where you are likely to be cracked open so that some new spiritual growth or maybe a blockage surrounding one of your spiritual gifts will be released. But in my opinion, it's very unlikely that somebody can tell you what you can and cannot do. There are people out there that may be able to gauge where you're at and be able to notice that maybe you're wandering a little bit from your true purpose, or perhaps you're squandering your gift in a way that was not intended. But unless you take on that mantle, it's not going to mean a lot for you personally. Your spiritual gifts come from deep personal reflection and analysis of your own direct experience. People cannot tell you that just because you speak with the dead that you must be crazy. That's usually really not the case. That's not fair to put that onto somebody. I do believe that it's possible to speak with the dead. I have communed with the dead, but they tend to be people that are inside my own direct experience, either friends or family members, or people that I have known or are connected to through my ancestral lines. I don't go around trying to contact other people's dead folks. I don't think that is necessarily appropriate. I don't trust my skills to be able to discern the spirit that I'm speaking to at that point. What I will do is create a space for somebody and give them ideas of how they could tap into that energy. I do believe that just because somebody else is dead, that doesn't mean that that relationship is over. Like, you're still here, you're still living, your memory of them is still very fresh and strong, therefore they are still very much alive and part of your reality, even though they don't have a physical representation here. So things I will do is suggest ways to tap into that, like maybe write that person a letter, send them an email, even though they're not going to be around to read it. Maybe listen to music that you enjoyed together. Anything like that that engages your senses and the whole experience will help in facilitating closure, which is, I think, the whole point, is closure and release. I think that's very important to work through whatever you may have left with that person that is unresolved. I definitely believe that if you are a true pursuant of spiritual path or your own mental paradigm, you will find yourself going batshit crazy at least once. And that's a good sign that you're on the right track. Just keep going. And give yourself grace for being crazy. It happens to the best of us. It doesn't mean anything necessarily bad. There are some tips to deal with it, like making sure you have a strong foundation, making sure you have a good idea of who you are, having good, supportive people around you who love you and care for you, and who are expansive. They don't try to limit you in any kind of way. They accept you for who you are, is really important. But yeah, don't ever let anybody tell you that they think you're crazy for what you can and cannot do. It's part and parcel. So it's what we signed up for, right? Peace.